Spain teeters on the brink of a perilous precipice, with the looming threat of being relegated to the annals of history forever. After the loss of our American colonies to the ruthless British, King Carlos of Spain has turned his attention to the east in search of a renewed source of power. Our bold joint invasion of Western Indonesia alongside the Portuguese has sparked outrage and consternation in Amsterdam and London, challenging their belief and their perceived right to seize all they set their sights on. Tensions in Asia continue to escalate as our relationships with the Qing and Brunei are put to the test. Meanwhile, at home, our armies are growing stronger each day as we rebuild from the Civil War. The newly resurrected Knights of Santiago stand ready to serve as a powerful tool of the crown and of Christ himself. We are preparing to launch a reconquista in the south, reclaiming what is rightfully ours and crossing the sea, this time as conquerors, not as the conquered. King Carlos is a man of great ambition, but he must tread carefully in these turbulent times, as even a single misstep could spell the end of our empire's quest for justice and retribution. Join us now for the third installment of the Carlist Spanish multiplayer roleplay game of Victoria 3. The primary issue, I think, for both of our countries here is we both have huge interests in Asia, and we felt that we needed to take action given we've seen nothing but rapid expansion from your vassal state. I'm hoping that his actions were not that of the Dutch government, and that perhaps maybe this is just a wayward governor who's just, conquering everything. But given that both Portugal and Spain are shifting their interest to Asia, we think it is quite unreasonable that the Dutch East Indies just eats all this territory all over.
Well, with all due respect, the expansion of the Dutch East Indies was authorized.
By your government, correct?
Yes, we did authorize the expansion.
That's very unfortunate. Well, again, I think it's good that we have a talk here, because I think as far as me and Portugal are concerned, we don't find really this rapid expansion and subjugation of the entire Asian island archipelago by the Dutch and the Dutch East Indies to be acceptable, as there needs to be, I think, proper sharing of territory since we all have interests.
Yes, and I'm sure that the Dutch, they do agree that they are not the only ones having historical claims in this region. I mean, the Portuguese and the Spanish, we have sailed these waters for centuries, so I don't see why the Dutch are so offended if we are conquering.
I mean, I understand you have internal issues and you promised that regions would go to the Dutch East Indies, but again, you have not spoken with the other European powers in Asia about this. I think it's unreasonable to just suggest that your internal negotiations have any relevance to other major countries, right? But
well, I've spoken to Great Britain about these issues. I've spoken to
that is one great power, admittedly a great power, but you don't get to speak with one foreign country and suggest that that is universally accepted.
With all due respect, the areas we were talking about were considered to be under Dutch spheres. So the island of Sumatra was under Dutch sphere, and we split Papua New Guinea.
Internally?
Yes, we decided to split Papua New Guinea.
But you're talking like these are something that you didn't get to bring to, again, powers like Portugal and powers like Spain, and suggest that we just need to honor them. We don't, as major countries in our own right, and as powers that have been, as the Portuguese put, relevant in this region for hundreds of years.
These were made like a decade ago.
With our country?
No, with the Great Britain, the relevant power within the region.
Correct, but we're not the United Kingdom, so that talk was never had with us, which is why we
were not considered to be a relevant talking point at the time.
A lot of the plans of the Dutch and the Dutch East Indies was done without obviously factoring in Portugal and Spain, and this is a good time for us to resolve these communication issues. But to make it very clear, the discussion needs to be done with the assumption that Portugal and the Spain are both in Asia, relevant players there, and European nations of a stature that needs to be respected. And given there's no British ambassador, I mean, at least, is there? Is that who's here right now?
Differentiate if you want the East Indian ambassador. We might even want to invite the Siam ambassador for the Qing's influence on the matter.
The Qing, I mean, I'm fine with inviting the Qing's minister here if you would like.
No, that's okay.
No, I think you bring up a very good point. I think that we should invite the Qing's minister here, and Spain would like to formally request that. Spain is looking to obviously build a colonial system in Asia after the current unfortunate circumstances that has resulted in our loss of colonies in the Americas, which we could sit here and talk all day about that, but we're not going to. We're seeking a reasonable division of lands in this region of the uncurrently occupied territories.
my interests and the interests of my subject nations, that being including Siam. We wish for anything south of Siam and its claimed territory, that being anything south of Johor, to be basically left alone in the state that it is in. Siam is going to continue consolidating power in its region. Anything north of that, I would advise you to leave alone. Apart from that,
all these regions are either minor trading partners or relevant in the Spanish sphere in Asia, and we see this as a problem. So either we're interested in one of two things, which is one, both parties agree to cease hostilities and expansion and wars of conquest, or B, if that cannot be attained, to discuss what would be a part of whose sphere, I suppose, here. Can we all agree then that the maintenance of the neutrality of Johor is agreeable to everyone? I'm sure Siam and the Qing would prefer that as well.
I would like to say that the current state of Johor is fine with the Emperor. Anything north of Johor is rightful claim to Siam, and therefore the Great Empire of Qing.
Also, is Portugal agreeable to this proposal as well?
Yes, we are agreeable with this proposal. Since Portugal has claims on Bacra, we are happy with this deal.
We also wish to stress the Dutch claim on Western New Guinea, as well as the Australian claim to Eastern New Guinea.
Eastern New Guinea?
Yes, that's a British claim.
That is indeed an international claim as well.
We do not oppose and we support the British claim.
We would honor the British claim, but that's not something that we are in need of. You're not the British either, so
you support the agreement we made with the British on New Guinea?
We're not involved in that agreement, and so as such, we wouldn't have any relevant say on that.
Will you recognize that agreement?
That's a conversation between the Spanish Empire and the British to be had. Do we have an agreement here on these territorial transfers and acknowledgements of claims here?
Yes, I think so.
Good.
Yeah.
It is good to formally speak with you. Am I speaking with the dictator himself or one of his ambassadors?
Yes, I am Ali bin Nik. I am the rightful dictator of the realm of Brunei, and the Sultan agrees that I am the rightful dictator. My claim is entirely legitimate.
Of course. I would never suggest it is not, nor would Spain. We would be very interested in having a talk with you about the future of Spain and Brunei's relationship. Just for some context, it was my government who interceded with the Dutch in order to stop the war that was happening and I believe the plans of the Dutch to bring you under their direct control. So we want to have a conversation.
Your intervention was much appreciated in Brunei.
Of course. We were made promises, though, admittedly from an intermediary in the Philippines who made us aware in exchange for this that Brunei was interested in involving themselves in the Spanish sphere and market. Is that correct?
In the triumvirate days, short as they may have been, I was forced to live under the oppression of the Qing and of the Islamic powers in Arabia. Both of them had influence here.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not that man. We may share your warriors did fight well, but were thrown back into the sea 2 centuries ago. And I wish to reflect and reject that initial hostility and become closer friends with you.
Correct. We have no interest in fighting wars. A small sum yearly and inclusion in Spanish economic markets for obviously no tariffs, importing or exporting.
This is an interesting proposal.
And forgive me, we were under the belief also that it was the one that you gave to the Philippines and therefore the Spanish crown.
It was. Mm-hmm. Don't misunderstand me here. However, since my palace coup, the dynamic has changed somewhat, and the Dutch East Indies, as well as having a ceasefire with me, also offered me dominion over the whole island of Borneo, including the parts they directly control. Now, as you heard, we have no claim over Borneo, but I must say...
we are happy to cooperate. We're happy to provide subsidies to you when our economy does stabilize, which it is finally now. And we're happy to provide those things. But I do want to put this very clearly that in terms of European law, I'm happy to discuss the terms of this, but your country has legally already stated that this is going to happen. Respectfully.
With all due respect,
Mm-hmm.
our country did no such thing. I personally
Document.
wrote to the government in Manila, right? And I am an honourable man, but I am not the government of Brunei, and we did not sign a treaty, secret or otherwise, with your country. I sent out a missive, which...
Did the
and-
Philippines not reply to you out of RP?
No.
God
No
damn it.
reply from the Philippines. Whereas the Dutch East Indies did send a reply.
Well, that makes sense. If the correspondence of the king to his governor in the Philippines did not reach you, then that is a very different matter and one I was not aware of. You're welcome to consider it,
Of
and we
course,
do
of course.
obviously not view the proposal as legally binding, given there was no response given by our public.
That's fine. I will go and speak to my advisors.
So formally, is
Long
Sokoto
you
under the
have.
protection of the British Empire?
Currently, that is what I'm trying to convey. Yeah.
So legally, you're protecting them, because otherwise I would have joined that war to puppet them.
No,
in corner.
yeah, I am.
Okay,
Trying
cool.
to protect.
Thank you for your time. All right, I'm also going to launch my war for Morocco, which I already RP'd out, which is a continue with the Reconquista.
We are all here today. We've been awaiting for your arrival. We understand that you had issues in Asia, but I believe it's been taken care of.
It has. A reasonable compromise has been met.
So, please take the floor. What do you have for us?
To start off with, we have petitioned, obviously, the Holy Alliance. I petitioned it in the beginning of the Carlist War, and it was refused, which I of course was reasonable. I was losing power in a civil war, though I do view as the Salic rights as a religious one. We understood your disinterest in involving yourselves, as it was dangerous, and the British-backed puppet in Madrid was doing much better. After the end of the war, I sent letters to several nations involved in the Holy Alliance, and my interest is always a religious one, first and foremost. That is why the Reconquista is continuing, and why my troops are now marching into Morocco to spread the light of the Lord. I am interested in some measure of cooperation or direct admission to the Holy Alliance in order to uphold Christian values throughout the world, as you are the sole major political alliance that does take, as far as we are aware, religion first and foremost, which is why I do wish to petition you.
The Prussian delegate is in favor of this.
Russian Empire can also support this initiative. We cannot speak highly enough about the new and rightful king in Madrid.
And Austria as well is all happy to hear a fellow God-fearing nation to join the Holy Alliance.
I am honored, and my nation and the crown of Spain is honored to be a part of such a noble enterprise, as faith must always be what we reflect on and are inspired by as leaders of men. Hello there.
Greetings. So, I don't mind your conquering of Aceh. It just, as I told you, I just wanted to be informed. And apparently, you told my French diplomat that it was not really necessary. When I proposed you funds to help you recover from the civil war, I stated that I just wanted you to inform me when you want to pursue ambitious conquering stuff.
I informed you of the ACA issue, though, in a correspondence very recently about our desires to obviously get those regions if at all possible. I named 3 regions, one of which was ACA, correct?
Yes, but I told you we were dealing with Brunei first, and now it's lost.
I understand, but a lot of things happened at the same time, and it was quite unfortunate. And we did have our
Yes.
word broken with Brunei, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, I think Brunei wanted to join the Dutch, so...
And he already
tell
has.
us.
And as far
Yeah,
as
they already
my
did it.
office sees it, one day there is a debt to be paid there with Brunei, who gave false promises to us. There was an issue, though, with my governor in the Philippines, who failed to bring correspondence, such that it is a bit of a complicated issue now.
Also, I have words from my diplomat, and that stated that you were, let's say, prioritizing your alliance with Prussia or Austria rather than France.
We were at a meeting in order to, perhaps I should give some perspective here. We're at a meeting in order of which we have formally joined the Holy Alliance. This is primarily due to a religious issue. My religion comes first, and the Holy Alliance is upholding of conservative values and Christian tenants in Europe is a pinnacle concern.
But just I wanted to say, if you want still to cooperate with us, it just we need to, let's say, better be coordinator.
I understand, but I also want to make it clear. I fail to see the bigger issue here, though. You requested that we communicate to you anything that we have done, and I have done so to you. I mean, you have the correspondence to prove that. What I did not promise is to be beholden to the French and need their permission to take any action. Those are two very different things, correct? I want to clarify, we thank you for your support, and we view cooperation with your country as important, but we also do not need your permission to take action.
Okay.
And that you can agree to, right?
Yes. It was on the condition of receiving more funds in the future.
If you would wish to cut off our subsidies, we can agree to that, as we have rebuilt to a degree here. I mean, so if you choose to do that, that is reasonable. But I would wish to firmly say, as a man who takes his word, as the Lord does tell us, we must always be honest, very seriously, I have done nothing to break the agreement we have.
Alright. Let me just research my letters with you.
Oh shit, we're back in game.
Yes, what I'm trying to say is that you expressed your claim, but you didn't warn me when you started the invasion. It's different things, you know. It just I wanted to be precise on that. You
want to explicit any time I'm about to declare war, I send a message to France then?
If you want my support, yes.
But I also would like to get your acknowledgement then that if we send it, we don't need your permission to still go ahead. That's agreed?
The thing is, when you started that war with Alsace, you must understand that you're trespassing the sphere of influence of the East Indies, okay? So that time the conflict was avoided, obviously, but sometimes.
Well, aware, but the issue is they have no legal binding rights to those regions besides internal matters and those discussed with Britain, and we are not beholden to British law and agreements. Nor to Dutch internal agreements. Spain is an independent country, and we have no reason to honor agreements made between singular nations when we're not involved in them. I mean, I am correct in that assumption that there was no international treaty where that region was agreed by all major powers in Europe that was theirs, right?
What I want to precise is that if you still want to cooperate and receive funds from us, we just need to be more in touch.